Hello, and welcome to another episode of the MiamiHal Real Estate Show. I am Hal Feldman, and every single week we have wonderful guests that are either in real estate or related to real estate, and we invite you to participate. How do we do that? If you're watching live, you've got a social media box in front of you. Go ahead, type a question, and we would love to get to those questions as we go through the interview today with Roberto Azua. Roberto, you're in my same office. We don't see each other that often, but you've got a specialty, and that's what we're really going to focus on today, right?
Yes. Formerly a real estate appraiser. I began in real estate since 1988. So it's been a few
years.
A few years.
Yeah.
Was real estate appraisers until 2000, which when I started doing both ends. I was the certified appraisers for a long time. My brother was also a certified appraiser. So, we mainly did appraising, and the reason why we became a realtor is because a lot of inconsistency between realtors telling the buyers, hey, your house is worth this. The appraiser will come in and say, hey, the appraiser didn't come out to value.
Okay.
Oh, but my realtor told me. It's not, your realtor's not an appraiser.
All right. So let's back up a little bit. So I am but a humble real estate agent.
So am I.
Okay. I've got a license to do that. I believe I do it well. And we are always challenged, whether we're buying a property for and with a client, or if we're trying to sell a home. The concept of getting people the most money that they can for that home, or to spend as little as possible on the home if you're a buyer, is always on the forefront of our minds, right? That's what we're supposed to do as realtors representing our customers. Do the best we can. Now, there is something called market value. And this is not an exact dollar figure, is it?
It's not.
So let's start off by saying and discussing what is market value to you. And we're not going to talk about an appraisal yet. We're going to talk about what is market value.
Market value is when a sound mind buyer and a sound mind seller come out to a mutual understanding what the cost of their property is. Basically, take the appraiser, take the inspector, take the realtors out of the equation.
The buyer and seller.
Buyer and seller are going to say, oh, I want to buy your house and I'm going to offer you this.
Okay.
Simple as that.
And that value, whatever the price tag is of the home that's being sold, is the price on the day that the buyer and seller agree.
Exactly.
And later on, we're going to throw in the complexity.
Exactly.
Okay, the complexity is that you have a problem with that because you have a contract that's signed, that's the price that day, and we have a market that's changing very rapidly now.
South Florida increases value, the last 2 years it was 15% every month. It was just crazy. We never saw it, the increase.
Right.
The appraisers were not, a lot of appraisers, that I taught how to do this business were they're like, oh, we used to use 3 months for the appraising, and basically it was like trying to find the comparables within 30 days because the same house in May will cost 500 and in July is 550.
Right. So, and nowadays with the market slowing down because of the holidays and a number of other factors, we're going to get to those as well, the value of the home might even drop a little bit.
Yes.
From the time that you signed a contract to the time it's supposed to close.
Exactly.
And an appraisal happens somewhere in between that. Right. So again, you have two hats. You can wear both your realtor hat and you can wear your appraiser hat. I can only wear a realtor hat. And so often with my buyer or seller, we're waiting for the appraisal to come back and we say, is the appraisal going to be a good appraisal? And I put good around in quotations because of course we're all hoping that the appraisal will support the number that we're getting on the contract. But you would probably hate for me to say that wasn't a good appraisal because it was low or even high, right?
Do you know what the difference between a good appraiser and a bad appraiser?
Okay, tell me.
The value that the appraiser gave to the house.
Really?
It's not about it being good. If the appraiser has no experience whatsoever,
right?
Never, continue education, throw that out the window. If the appraiser give you the value, he's a great appraiser.
Oh, yes.
What he was doing.
Oh, no, that I know.
But if the appraiser give you a bad value,
then we don't like that appraiser.
You don't like that appraiser. Your appraiser's not good, whatever. I done countless reviews. I used to do reviews for banks. Reviews, the court appointed appraisers, all that stuff. And when I didn't give the value, you can see people screaming top of their lungs and with the phone, "Oh, you know what you're doing? I'm gonna kill your children," only because.
Wait a minute, they're going to do what to your children?
Yes.
That's not good.
If I would tell you all the horror stories I hear over the phone that were gonna do to me.
Okay. So, now, let's back up, take some emotion out of this.
Okay.
What did it take for you to get a license to appraise?
Well, it used to be a lot easier before. It used to be you take a 60-hour, what they call an AB1. Take your 60-hour, you take your test, become a trainee. They would not check anything. As
you're a trainee and you already are licensed, you still can't do your own appraisal.
As a trainee, you can do your own appraisal, but you need to be signed under a certified appraiser.
Right. Okay.
And before 1998, you can have as many trainees under your license as you wanted.
Now, not the same.
You can only have 4.
Okay. So what you're saying is this is not trivial.
No.
When you get a bad appraisal, you can't just say, "Oh, that guy or gal did a horrible job," because there is clearly education and then continuing education that happens all the time, and any appraiser is following a strict set of guidelines on how they're supposed to do the work, right?
Oh, now to become a certified appraiser, you have to have 1,200 hours of working. You have to have an associate degree. You have to have a lot of education.
The hurdle has gotten much
worse.
Higher.
Yes.
Okay.
Trust me. One of my sons is an appraiser. He got an education, thank God, and he's a certified appraiser. Now he's becoming a certified appraiser. He got me as a father, as an instructor, so he learned a lot. And and because of the strict policies that we had at the company, you have to give the appraisal within 24 hours. You have to do certain things because we have one of the biggest volumes in appraisals in South Florida. So for him learning that, now it's easier for him because all the new people coming in, when you tell them, "Hey, you do the inspection in the morning, and by the afternoon, by the end of the day, you have to have that appraisal done," they cannot do it. There's no way in hell they do it because there's so much they say they can't.
That's interesting, but I want to go back to the core of what we're doing. You've got a buyer and a seller that are wanting to do business together. They have an agreement to do business with each other at a certain price point. And the appraisal process can be, well, it's either, it's a gate. It's a yes or a no. And there are a number of people that believe that if it's an appraisal that doesn't work for the price, that they can argue this and win.
Yes, I can.
What are the chances of somebody, as an agent, for example, saying, "Listen, this appraisal is too low, and I believe it should be higher, and I want it to be reevaluated"? How does that process work? Because we don't want the deals to die, do we?
No, of course not. Okay. And the appraisals, and believe it or not, 90%, 95% of the appraisers, we don't want the deal to die, because a lot of time before, if the deal died, we didn't get paid.
Right.
So that changed it. That's why you pay the appraisal up front.
So why wouldn't you just value the house at the contract price all the time?
Because they're comparables.
There's actual
the actual
work behind it.
Yes.
Okay.
And listen, it takes regularly. It takes about 5 hours of appraisal work. Not only it takes about 15 minutes for the inspection. 15, 20 minutes, depends on the size of the house.
Okay, and let me be clear because the audience may not understand what you're talking about. It takes you approximately, depending on the size of the house, 15 minutes to physically go to the location of the home, take your measurements, because you do not trust what's in public record. You always make sure that what's there is true.
Yes.
Okay. And then do you do any other visual inspections while you're at the house? What are they?
For example, we walk into the house. I personally like to go into the entrance of the property. I will go right or left, depends. But when I'm walking by it, I looked everywhere. I looked in the floors. I looked in the ceilings. I looked everywhere because if you have in the ceilings you have yellow stains, it's a water problem. If in the floors you see termites, you can walk around the property and see deferred maintenance, and that's what make classification between a C3 and C4. C3 being average condition, C4 being average to
Okay, you're a little ahead because I'm gonna break down what you just said. So 15 minutes, you're taking measurements,
Right.
and you're also doing a visual inspection, but you are not an inspector. You're not looking to see if this particular sink has a leak. You're not looking to see if the air conditioner has the right temperature split, are you?
No, we don't. We
Okay.
don't. But we do look under the sink because we have to make sure
Understood, yeah.
there's no leak. Like don't leak on the roof because of the personal plumbing problems. We don't say, oh, there's a problem with the plumbing. A certified plumber should be
Right.
invested into the property.
Right. But
we mandate somebody with a license to see the problem.
Got it. And so you said something about C3 and C4. So we as agents understand what you're talking about, but maybe the general public doesn't. And so when you're comparing the subject home to something else that's nearby, what is C3, C4?
Okay.
How does that work?
It's easy. There's 6 categories. Yeah, 6. The C1 is a brand new construction. That nobody lived in the property. Everything's great. Okay. C2 means a property that's like 5 years old, or a property that's been totally renovated. From A to Z, gutted the property. That's a C2. C3 is a property that's like 15, 20 years old that has done good maintenance to the property. You don't see no damage, you don't see nothing, but the property's been lived in for 15, 20 years. C4, now you see properties that are need of repairs. They're still livable, it's still past FHA guidelines. That FHA will have no problems with it. Now, these are the 2 bad ones. C5, banking and financing will not lend money on C5 because there's deferred maintenance, hazards to somebody living in the property. And that, we have properties in Miami that people live in these conditions. C6, not livable whatsoever.
Okay.
Condemned, ready to be turned down.
So you're grading almost like a school teacher does from A to F.
Yes.
Is the entire home getting a C rating, or is it by room?
No, entire home.
Okay. So I'm going to, again, I did this on purpose for our audience. Let's say the house is 25 years old and has had reasonable maintenance. What category does it put the home in? C what?
C3.
Okay, so C3. But the kitchen happens to have gotten a $150,000 killer makeover. Is it still a C3?
Still C3.
Aha. So, people in the audience, I did this on purpose. As a buyer and a seller, you may put a lot of value into the fact that this has a absolutely amazing kitchen, but the appraiser can't. By the way that they are trained, it's still a C3. And so, let's say there's a house out there and you decide between buyer and seller that it's a $700,000 house. Well, you may have put $100,000 of that $700,000 into the kitchen. Yet the appraiser is probably going to come back somewhere around $600,000.
Remember how
right?
It's not a dollar per dollar.
Right.
People think because I put $100,000, I'm gonna get $100,000 back.
Right.
And there's 2 difference between dollar amount. It's a dollar per dollar or market dollar.
Right.
That's why it's market value.
Right.
The market value to $1.
All right. And
So
yeah.
my suggestion to everybody, listen, if you guys gonna do a renovation to your house and want to increase the value of the renovation, want to increase the value of your house, talk to a realtor, talk to an appraiser. A realtor will give you a free estimate on what to do to your house to increase the value. An appraiser, depends who you call. If it's a person with experience, may tell you what to say or what to do to the property to increase the value. I have people that are like, oh, I put, gold fixtures in the bathroom. A lot of people don't have gold fixtures in the bathroom. I don't want to sit in a throne.
So that's not going to take your C4 or C3 home to a C2.
Exactly.
Okay. So don't do the gold fixtures?
No, don't do the gold
unless
fixtures.
you want them for yourself.
That's a personal.
Right. Okay. I'm hammering this point because so often my buyers and sellers are angry at an appraiser such as you. And the reality is they should be looking at the way they think, because it has to match what the appraiser must do to keep their license and do the job that they were trained and paid to do.
Exactly. I'm going to emphasize this. I am a realtor. I'm no longer an appraiser. I closed my company in 2018.
Right.
Because I was sick and tired of the regulations that appraisers have. And people don't understand how much regulated appraiser is. We don't get paid. The appraisals don't get paid the way it's supposed to. People say, "Oh, the appraiser's getting $600 for an appraisal." Trust me, they're only getting a $200, $250.
So let's go back to the market dollars versus dollar for dollar that we were talking about. And you said, go talk to a realtor if you want to know what to do in your home to increase the value. I'm going to share what I've told so many people right out to my audience. And that is that unless something's broken in your house, you do not necessarily want to spend anything. You're going to look to improve the next place you're going to live. So why are you doing it in the house that you're about to leave? Don't repaint the interior of the house, right? Unless a wall's broken and then you got to patch and then paint, right?
I agree with you.
Okay, you don't do it. Why? Because let's say you put up a certain shade of tan and the next person wants gray. It has no value to that buyer at all.
If you're gonna, and I'm gonna emphasize this to you.
Okay.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Good.
Okay, as an appraiser.
That means I've been giving good advice, not only as an agent, but also as an appraiser would.
Why? Because whatever you do to the property is your taste.
Right.
It's not nobody else's taste. You want to sell the property to get the highest value you can.
Right.
Clean the property. Make sure that you do, you fix it a little bit, but do not always spend your money. Do not always do things because it may jeopardize you to find a buyer. If you paint the house, if you think, oh, I like the gray color, paint the gray. A person that they're ready to buy don't like the gray and they don't want to spend their money on the gray.
Yeah, and the same goes for a bathroom. I recently talked to somebody that was about to list their home, and they said, "What do I do in here?" And I said, "Almost nothing." And they walked me into a bathroom which was really outdated, and they said, this is the bathroom, and it had like mismatching tiles and a bunch of things that were wrong. And the only thing that I took pause on is they said, and that toilet keeps us up at night because we hear this leak. I said, okay, you don't redo the bathroom, but do fix the toilet that's leaking. That's it.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Okay. Wait a minute. If I don't fix this bathroom, then I'm not going to get my money out of this bathroom. I'm like, yes, you will, because if you put $10,000 into that bathroom, you might get back $3,000.
You might get less than that, but you may get because remember, people don't understand this. Time is money.
Right.
The more time the property stays in the market.
Well, that's true.
Okay, but it's your fault because you did the bathroom because you thought you're gonna get more money.
Yes.
So that's what you have to teach. That's what you have to teach.
Yeah.
Remember, people think the realtors steal money because basically all we do is open the doors and show the house and that's it. But we do a lot more. We do a lot more.
Please walk back from that. We do a lot more. Okay.
We do a lot more. But trust me, I do a lot more. If you guys want to see those companies that give you money to fix the house before you list it, if you're gonna do that, fine. Because before you do that, you have to make sure the evaluation of the property is accurate. This is your value now, the house is, and this is the value after you repair it. Now, sometimes. Sorry to interrupt, but sometimes those numbers don't jive.
That's right. And in fact, I've had people who did multiple interviews of agents, and I tell them to do almost nothing. Yeah, but this other agent, actually, the other 3 agents told me to go and fix this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, yeah, of course they did. Do you know why? Because they don't want the house to sit on the market long. They want their money faster. And oh, by the way, if you get more money, they get more commission. But you putting $10,000 into that bathroom, you're only getting back $3,000, or maybe even less, as you pointed out. So why are you spending money to just pay the agent more?
You see, the company that you and I work for,
yes,
and Anthony
Remax Advanced Realty. Okay,
Anthony Askowitz. I think he has a brilliant mind. I've been following Anthony since he started. He will lend you the truck to move. Well, you remember those commercials on TV?
Yes.
That's how long I
wait a minute. Did he pay you to say this?
No, he did
no,
not.
He's just a good guy.
No, he did not. But I've been following him from that long.
Sure.
And Anthony, working for him, and you and I have the experience that a lot of people don't have. That long time that we've been doing this and working directly with him, we look at properties in a different way. We look at clients in a different way. We don't get listings just to put it in our pocket. We get listings to sell it.
Right.
A lot of realtors, I want to get listings, but they just pocket the listings and they don't do nothing with it. They don't take pictures. They don't do stuff.
Roberto, You're absolutely right. And I don't want to talk about the bad agents out there. I
No,
want
no.
to talk about, you and me doing good business, and with your background as an appraiser, I want to focus back on that. So
Yes.
we were talking about the fact that if somebody got back an appraisal that was not a number that worked for the contract, how do they go about arguing that?
There's
point?
two ways, guys. There's two ways. It's easy. One is your realtor. That's why your realtors work for you. Your realtor has to go back, read the appraisal, okay, and see what the appraisal went wrong. Listen, appraisals are not perfect. If I'm not perfect, trust me, I make mistakes like I'm human, okay. Even though my experience and stuff like that, I can say myself one of the good ones. I make mistakes.
Okay.
So, the best person that knows the property the best is the owner of the property. Forget about the appraiser. Forget about the realtor. Okay. So go back to your appraisal, read it, see what's wrong with it, see what the appraiser, what he went wrong in there. Put notations. Escalate this to the AMC.
So as the seller, as the owner of the home, you go through and make notations where you believe there's a mistake.
Yes.
Then what do you do with it?
Fill it up piece of paper. The AMC, which is the ones that I ordered the appraisal, they have a review department. They will review this.
How do you request a review?
It's called. They ask for just your realtor. Go back to the mortgage broker. The mortgage broker will ask for a review.
Okay.
I think the value is wrong, and this is why. And they give you the form. You fill it out. If you contact me or you contact the office, whatever, we can do that for you. The letter it's a standard. Okay. Just make sure that everything wrong, and if you have comparables, guys, listen. Understand this. I've done this a lot of my time, and I've seen realtors giving me comparables that this is an orange, this is a pineapple.
You can't compare the two.
You can't compare
Okay.
apples to apples. Make sure the square footage is the same. Make sure the room count is the same.
When you
Conditions.
say same, you mean similar.
Similar, sorry, not
Yeah,
same.
right.
Similar.
Okay.
Within 100 square feet different.
Okay.
Something is the house is 1,400 square feet between 13 and 15.
And you can't compare a 4-bedroom for a 3-bedroom sale.
You can't. That's why we do adjustments.
Only if you cannot find other 3-bedrooms. Right?
Exactly.
So those are the adjustments. I want to go back to one other thing. When people look at an appraisal, I've seen this time and time again.
I know
This
you
is
go
like a
for it.
12, 13-page document. It's just like this Pinecrest Tribune. There's a whole bunch of pages, and you know what? The information in there was not randomly put in. It's important. So you can't just look at the headline Pinecrest Tribune and go, that's the Pinecrest Tribune, and I know everything that's inside. So don't just get your appraisal, look at the number, and go, well, that's wrong. Why is it wrong? Or why is it right? Okay. So
Listen, the appraisal, 16 pages. I wish it was 16 pages. My appraisal,
Okay.
6 comparables and stuff like that. But the first 4 pages of the report are the most important pages. Forget about the pictures. Forget about the maps. Forget about. Just read the first 4 pages. Comparables, the data. Make sure the data is correct.
That's what you're looking for.
Because a lot of appraisals, what they do, they do the appraisal 3 doors down, and they flip it to make it faster. And instead of deleting the data, they leave some of the data there, and that's when they make mistakes.
Okay. So what you're saying is mistakes can be made. They're not often. That you can ask for a review.
Yes.
And you can get things fixed if needed.
Yes.
Okay.
But you just make sure. And listen, that's the third thing. If you don't get your way, let's say you say, I don't want to say what I want to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Please do.
80% of my every 80% of my reviews that I will get back, I will throw them out. I say, I'm not going to change the value because you didn't deserve it.
Right.
You didn't put enough in paper for me to change the value.
Okay.
That's why it's imperative that you make sure that you give me all the data. Why did I deserve that value?
Okay. Got it. So now we're going to...
Sorry,
please.
there's
yeah,
more.
Please.
If this doesn't work,
Yes.
you ask for a full review. My client wants a full review to that appraisal. Basically, that appraiser is going to be sent into another appraiser to do that job that you want to do. But it's not going to happen unless you do your due diligence in the first place. Okay, very important. You do your due diligence in the first place. You have to get new comparables. You have to make sure that the data is correct before you ask for a full review.
Okay. we have just, I guess we still are, but we have exited the insanity of our real estate market during COVID times. Yes, I agree.
Please.
Knock on wood. Don't do that because the mics really don't like that. But yes, knock on wood. And during that time, I know a couple of appraisers, and they were just beside themselves because even though prices were escalating quickly on contracts, they were having a very difficult time getting that to work for their actual appraisals.
Yes.
And it really comes down to, again, the training and what you must put into an appraisal in order for it to be accurate. And so I want to start off with the crazy times, and then we're going to go to something that you said about your son who's doing this now. In order for an appraisal basically for everybody to get paid, the way that they want to get paid, because they've done the work, is for a deal to work.
Well, they're going to get paid no matter what. No,
I understand that. But for agents to get paid, the deal has to close. The buyer and seller are wanting to either live in a new home, or the seller wants their money for the home they're selling, right? So there is a tremendous amount of pressure to get an appraisal to work, right? And so during the craziness, several of the appraisers were really, as I said, beside themselves because they did not necessarily want to give that valuation. Yet the appraisal wholesalers that basically banks call out to a company and say, we need these properties.
It's called an AMC.
An AMC, thank you. I didn't want to necessarily go tech jargon, but the bank or the lender will call an AMC. The AMC is independent, and then they send out an appraisal. They ask for an appraisal to be done, and then they send it back to the lender, right?
Right.
The lender.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just for people to know, AMC is an appraisal management system.
Thank you.
Okay, that's why everybody to know. Before 2000, when the collapse in 2007, the mortgage brokers used to order the appraisals themselves. They had a list of people that they work with, they trust, and when the market collapsed, they took that away from the mortgage brokers.
Quick dig in. You said the lenders would call people that they trust. The inherent part of that is they called people that would give them the number they wanted. So that's why we had the crisis.
I didn't want to say it like that because I'm
not talking about any one individual. This is what happened. This is why we had a mortgage crisis, right?
Yes,
so
this is the truth.
So now we have a system that is supposed to resolve this, and I believe it does. But here's what's still happening, and tell me if I'm wrong. The lender calls an AMC. The AMC sends out their appraisal for 15 different jobs for that particular lender. And then the lender comes back and says, well, wait a minute. 14 out of these 15 didn't appraise, so I don't get to write loans on 14 out of the 15. I asked this company to, maybe we shouldn't use that AMC. I'll go hire another one.
They do that. They have 3 or 4 AMCs.
So those AMCs and therefore the appraisers underneath are under a lot of pressure,
right?
But to make it to that number that's on the contract price, right?
Yeah, but understand this: the law is very. They have to submit to a law. Even the AMCs, the appraiser. They have 10 best appraisers, and they say you send them 14 jobs, right? You don't send all 14 jobs to one guy. It goes in a rotation.
Agreed.
Okay.
And that rotation, by the way, and this is my wording, the rotations suck.
Royally.
Okay? They suck because if I'm selling a home in Pinecrest and the lender hires an AMC and the AMC sends out a next person on the list, that person may know nothing about Pinecrest. So they've lost the expertise that should be into that.
Well, that's another thing. That is another thing. Understand this. If you have a property and let's say Pinecrest, okay, and you get an appraiser from Broward, you have the right to say no. The realtors and the homeowners have the right to ask, who's the appraiser? Where is it coming from? Like when people call me here and say, hey, the appraisal has been ordered, and the first thing I open my mouth is, where is it coming from? Where does he hang his license? It's in Miami, okay. And if in North Miami, and I talk to the appraiser because I want to make sure that he understands the valuation of the property. I understand because I not tell them straight out, I'm an appraiser. So, but they know that they know that I am gonna look at him with everything on my powers.
Yeah.
So, and you have the right to say no. I don't want you here. Understand that the homeowner can tell the appraiser no.
Wow. Send somebody that
You have the
is an
power.
expert
You
for
have the power.
expertise for
The realtor has the power to say no.
Wow.
You don't belong here.
Okay. Let's skip to one other thing because this is an important thing that you and I talked about off air a couple days ago, and I think it's incredible. Your son is doing appraisal work now.
Yes, both my sons.
Okay. So they are under pressure to come up with numbers that are not at the contract price. How is
No,
this
they're not pressured. Not that contract price. They're not in pressure to make sure that, and appraisers don't overvalue the property.
overvalued?
Right.
Okay.
Like when you get evaluation, you get three. There's three numbers. There's the minimum, the maximum, and the median. They don't want you to go the maximum. They don't want you to put 6 comparables and base your comparable on the higher one.
Well,
Because what they do is
we learned that in basic math class.
right. But what they do is if they see that,
Right.
they get a review. Because they want to make sure they don't tell you they get a reviewer. They pay for the review.
Yes.
Okay, they want to make sure that appraiser did a good job. If not, they will knock it down. They will knock down the value. Even though the appraiser give you this, they will knock it down, or they will get or they get a second opinion. They want a second appraiser. So a lot of people call me and say, "Hey, they asked me why did they ask you for a second appraisal?" It's because the other appraiser went higher, the reviewer lower, and they went a third opinion, and that's what that's going to base the valuation of the property.
So, the last part, which I'll just remind people about, is how appraisals happen. You can see there's a lot of complexity going on here. There's a lot of areas that are still gray. They're always done professionally, but sometimes you can challenge that professionalism. And remember, you go under contract, let's say December 7th, right?
Yes.
The appraiser is not going to be out there probably for another 2 weeks or so. If the market takes a major shift, either up or down, the contract price may not stand. Now, during COVID, we saw this huge escalation.
Yeah,
it was difficult.
We saw people writing an offer for $500,000, and by the time the appraiser was there, they see $550, and like people blame the realtor. Blame the realtor. You told me you $500, and then the appraiser gave me $550.
You did on December 7th when it was worth $500. Anyway,
Yes.
There's so much to know. Roberto, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for inviting me.
Before we wrap up, tell people how they can get in touch with you. I mean, friendly competition. Tell us how we get in touch with you.
We are no competition. We're family.
Yes, we are.
We're always family. Listen, if you need a second opinion, Hal and I will be happy to help you guys. If you need, and remember, I'm a realtor. I'm not an appraiser. I just have a lot of experience. I have appraisers that don't work for me, but that I trained. They're still friends of mine. I can recommend for them to do reviews, to do appraisals. Okay. If you need to contact me, my name is Roberto Azua. My phone number is 786-518-9664. You can give me a call anytime. You leave a voicemail. I usually return my calls within an hour. I'm pretty good at that. My team and I are ready to help you. Hal and I work together, and Hal knows Pancras like a palm of his hand. I live in Palmetto Bay, so we're neighbors.
Yes,
So this area here, from the Keys to Palm Beach, worked there for close to 35 years. So there's no areas that we don't know.
We both want to wish you happy holidays. There will be a show all the way up till, I think it's December. What day is it? I'm trying to remember the days. Anyway, we've got 2 more shows before the holidays. We will be off for that one week. And until then, have a great time in real estate and enjoy the family.